Huge beauty YouTuber Tati Westbrook is being sued for $5 million by her business partner that started Halo Beauty with her. I'm going to give you the full story today and why we think she's disappeared, where she's been, what she's been up to. We have a ton of stuff, including a house sale to go through. So let's just get straight into the video. Welcome back to Cookian's Courtroom. My name is John Cookian. I hope you're... Really? My bloody laptop giving me low warnings? I don't think so. Tati was a really well-respected beauty influencer on YouTube for a long time. She was super consistent with her uploads. She had a super consistent message. She was generally very conservative. She just did product reviews. She always had new content. She was posting 4 or 5 times a week, very, very consistently, keyword consistent and drama-free. She really didn't mess with any of the beauty influencers. She didn't get involved with any of the drama. She did sometimes, struggle and get into controversies and fight with brands, sometimes unnecessarily, and it did seem a bit petty from just my opinion. But as time went on, she made friends with various different people. She got in with Jeffree. She jumped on that train. There was a huge controversy. She went on a private jet with him, which I think they chartered. It's like $2,000 or $3,000. Not really a big deal, to be honest with you, for big beauty influencers. And it turned into a big deal because lots of people were disagreeing with Tati, and she basically came on camera and was like, I'm going to be blocking people. This is not your decision to make. And she was really angry, and it really alienated a lot of a core audience because Jeffree was in the picture for 5 minutes and Tati sort of just lost perspective. There was also this very, very famous video, which I'm going to include in this video, where she received a handbag from Jeffree Star. I think it was a Louis Vuitton handbag.
You guys will not even believe what I am carrying right now. I kind of think this is crazy. Oh my God. Yes, I just received a random, unexpected package in the mail from Louis Vuitton containing this. So this bag was a gift from Jeffree Star, which is just so incredible and really, really generous. I've never received such a nice gift.
There was just a rapid downfall. And then obviously we had the whole drama again of 2019 where she went against James Charles. And then we had 2020. And it's really been endless drama for Tati, whether it's beauty drama happening with influencers Jeffree that she was closely associated to, which is very controversial, and James Charles. Now, obviously she called James Charles a sexual predator. And then the boy came forwards that he was accused of being predatory with. And he said, no, he wasn't really a predator, like in that way. Like, we just met up, we kissed, and then we said goodbye, and it just was awkward. That's all that he said. There was no lunging. Now, obviously, some people did say maybe, James paid him off to make this video. Maybe James gave him 10K to make a video and say nothing weird happened. Who knows? Who knows? But for all we know, the boy came forwards and said, no drama. Tati's a liar, basically, indirectly. So that's obviously the beauty YouTube drama, and that was a huge deal, and things really started to turn on Tati. Even PewDiePie was involved, lots of big YouTubers. When the microphone switched over from everyone looking at James and him losing millions of subscribers to looking at Tati saying, hang on a second, you just dragged this kid that you said was like a son to you with accusations that have been proven to be false as far as we can tell, right? Anyway, she launched Halo Beauty a couple of years ago, 3 years ago perhaps. Quite controversial launch. I do have an entire series playlist on my channel. I'm going to link it up here so you can see it. Very good playlist. Really good videos. I covered both launches of the main pill and the second pill. And after that, and after the controversy of the launches, we did have a deep dive into the company structure of Halo Beauty. And this is at the very beginning. I did a deep dive search and I found out, Halo Beauty was being managed by, a beauty brand called Inside Out Beauty. And then Inside Out Beauty was associated with another lab. And that lab was actually associated with James, Tati's husband, who's been in some controversy with another YouTuber and various other things like that, for various big things happening. And another gentleman who had been involved in the pharmaceuticals industry or something like that to do with production of these sorts of pills and stuff like that. So he was quite into nutritional manufacturing and general, I guess, chemical engineering, you would say. And that's who she partnered with. Obviously, Tati, don't really think she has any understanding of medicine or medical knowledge, even though she made herself out to be in her videos. She's a beauty YouTuber, right? So she's not really doing anything outside of that. She's a full-time trying on makeup and playing with products, and I'm sure she's very good at that, and she's good at the business side of things and managing brands. But medicine is really a topic people spend their entire lives training to enter. So to really claim that you're a doctor and you can make all these products. She didn't claim to be a doctor, but it was that idea. It was a bit controversial. And there was some controversy at the launch because she included an ingredient called sal palmetto, which can have controversial health effects on pregnant women. And I don't know if it was on the packaging that you shouldn't take this if you're breastfeeding or pregnant. And people made a huge deal of it, saying, Tati, you've not emphasized that. And in addition to that, she also made some medical claims that the product was anti-inflammatory, which you need to back up with hard evidence for that specific product. When you make a claim, I don't think you can actually rely on particular claims of ingredients that you've used. I'm pretty sure you have to actually prove that that product has that effect, at least in the EU. So that was one thing. And also another thing, they made this huge claim that Ceramide RX, this incredible ingredient, was like amazing. And it was proven by me to be incredibly disingenuous because it was actually just an ingredient called RX Ceramide or something. And this huge thing about it having amazing medical effects and no one else being able to use it, the only reason no one could use it was because they trademarked that name. They didn't own the rights to that particular chemical, the composition, but they trademarked the name. So no one else could use Ceramide RX, but they could use that ingredient under the original name that everyone else was already using it under. And in addition to that, when people looked at the actual clinical studies of how they'd proven this product to be effective, this ingredient, it turns out that you have to go back and watch the video to see the evidence, but I'm sure it was a case of this ingredient was tested 20 years ago in Japan on a case study of one 16-year-old girl, and they're making claims it can do this, it can do that. Sample size is very important. Everyone knows this. You can't say this product, cures cancer if you try it on one person, for example, right? You don't know if that's what cured the cancer. You have to have a large sample size, 100 people, 1,000 people. That's how you really test if something's working. In addition to running a placebo, that's one of the scientific bases of these sorts of experiments. And obviously I don't think a placebo is running this in case. So lots of controversies. You can hear things are building, right? Here's where things get juicy. She signed into that business deal with this man that did the pharmaceuticals. And originally, I don't believe he was really that interested in getting into the deal because it wasn't that profitable for him just doing the nutraceuticals. I hate using the word nutraceuticals. It's a food pill. It contains biotin, just like my multivitamin. It's not anything special. It's not medicine. Can we just cancel nutraceuticals? It's a vitamin pill, okay? That's it. It's biotin. It's a bunch of vitamins you get in your apples and oranges. That's it, okay? So anyway, the way that this man was allegedly enticed, based on what I've read in the lawsuit, was the deal was Tati would not only do Halo Beauty with him, but she would also launch her colour cosmetics with him, which obviously you would imagine would be probably more popular than the Halo Beauty sort of thing. Even though Halo Beauty was an interesting niche and it's a subscription service, so you can make a lot of money from it, you would think that Tati, as a beauty guru, would have more success selling beauty products. So anyway, she launched Tati Beauty. Sounded dramatic. I'm sure someone else had the name and it turned into a bit of a drama at the time. Even when we first looked at Halo Beauty in beauty products and Tati Beauty and stuff like that, I'm sure there was already trademarks filed, so there's probably some backdoor controversy happening there as well, but I can't say for certain because there was nothing that really happened publicly, at least nothing that I can remember now. I'm sure there was something that happened at the time. And it turns out she did it with a completely different company. So from what we can see from the outside, it looks like she completely screwed over the guy that she was in a business partnership with and she was doing Halo Beauty with, which is really controversial because maybe he would have got a 50% cut, for example. Maybe they're in that sort of business partnership. But Tati knew that she could make a much lower percentage cut. She could give a much lower cut to the other company if she worked with someone else. But obviously this guy was getting a higher cut because that was his reward for doing Halo Beauty, which was potentially a bit less profitable or had a high startup cost, right? So he got screwed over. She made a bit of extra money at the time, from what we can tell, launching this eyeshadow palette, which is just so generic. I'm sorry to be honest, I thought it was quite generic. And then it came out that she was being sued for $5 million by her business partner or ex-business partner. And so she had a home in Sherman Oaks. I'm going to include some photographs on the screen now. And this house was put on the market and sold. I believe it was listed for $4 million, but we don't know what it actually sold for. So this is obviously happening after Dramageddon and all these sorts of things. And there was also this whole thing of Tati saying that she'd had to leave the city because of forest fires, but then it turned out that a week earlier she was out of the city because I think her sister was having a surgery. So it was kind of a bit of a Jaclyn Hill situation of saying one thing, but then the truth actually really pointing towards something completely different. Also, if you're enjoying the video, please be sure to smash the like button every time you do. A titty flies into space. And if you are new here, I would definitely consider subscribing. The tea is spicy. Now, I did decide to take a look at Tati's Instagram, and I'm not logged into my personal Instagram, I'm logged into my brand Instagram, but oh no! Oh, what's happened here? What's happened here? I can't believe she blocked me. Are you joking me? And it's not even me, it's my brand account. And you know what's really silly as well? Tati Westbrook has a public profile. I can just Google it on like an incognito tab on Google Chrome and I can see the whole thing. So I don't really get the purpose for this. I find the action to be quite aggressive, to be honest with you, because I haven't blocked her. Very rude. There was actually a brief period where Tati was putting monetization claims against some of my videos. That was strange. I was thinking times must be tough with Halo Beauty to be making monetization claims on a John Cookian video. Let's be honest, hashtag demonetized. Now the whole thing with this business deal with the previous guy, to give you some inside knowledge, is that it was split 3 ways. Tati Westbrook and James Westbrook, Tati's husband, each had a 33.3% share in the company, leaving the other co-owner with a 33.3% share, but also making him a minority shareholder. So they still own the majority share in the company. They can make the big decisions, they can veto him and stuff like that. What I think is also very interesting here is Tati made this whole thing about how amazingly successful Halo Beauty was and how it was just selling so much. And I do imagine at the launch they will have shifted a lot of units because Tati still had that credibility back then, that quite strong credibility from posting years of consistent content despite the controversies that were conspiring at the time. She hadn't gone through Dramageddon. She hadn't accused James Charles of being a sexual predator. She hadn't got very close with Jeffrey at that point, very, very close, and all the controversies hadn't kicked off. So I think she did still have a loyal following, but I don't know what the keep up with that was and if people would really stay with it. And it's kind of difficult to release new products with the same ingredients and stuff like that. So it's controversial, right? But I thought it was interesting that Swanson was only suing her for $5 million, because that almost makes it seem like the beauty deal was only worth $5 million. I mean, when we're talking beauty influencers at this caliber with these kinds of subscribers, you're expecting more money than that. I'm sorry to be honest, but you can charge $100,000 to $200,000 for a sponsored video with that kind of caliber reach. Well, maybe not Tati's reach because her engagement has been a little bit lower on the last few videos, but definitely you can, you know, the big people can charge 100 to 200,000 quite easily for one sponsored video. And you can do what, like a lot of videos, especially in Christmas time in December, you can do like 15 to 30 videos a month if you really wanted to. Now, something else to mention here was one of the alleged things that happened that made this business deal go through in the first place between Swanson and Tati and her husband was Tati spoke about her pull. This is at least what's alleged in the lawsuit. So her contacts with James, with Jeffrey, with Manny, with Laura Lee. I mean, look at that now. It's like a complete blow up, right? She was saying that they were all going to be pushing the products and stuff like that, and it's going to be a big deal. And I don't know if that was actually cleared beforehand with James and with Jeffrey, or if she was just expecting it, right? Because James then went on and promoted this multivitamin pill, and it's different to Halo Beauty. It's like a chewy gummy. It's designed to be targeted towards children. I don't really know about those sorts of things, targeting pills towards children and stuff like that. I think it's controversial, and I don't think it's necessary, but it's a big thing. And Tati's always saying it's her biggest competitor, but there's levels. If you look at their turnover compared to her turnover, I don't think there's any comparison personally, but I need to do some deeper digging. But anyway, James did a sponsored Instagram post, and the only reason he did that was because he went to Coachella and he didn't have any security organized, and they basically offered to give him their security that they had set up if he would do a sponsored post for them. So I don't know if he got paid for it, but I'm pretty sure he was paid in being able to go to Coachella and have security, you know, because I guess he needed it at that point. And he took it on. You know, obviously he's not in an NDA with Tati Westbrook. He hasn't signed an exclusive deal to only promote one hair care product, and I guess neither has Jeffrey, Manny or Laura. It kind of sounds like Tati's just expecting everyone to do what she wants, which does kind of make sense from previous behaviour with Tati. She almost expects people to bend over backwards for her from what I've seen. So that is something to keep in mind as well. It seems like Tati had something in her head, potentially a little bit narcissistic, expecting everyone to do everything for her because she was the centre of attention. And in addition to this, Swanson claims in the lawsuit, and I'm going to quote this to you, he claims that she said her followers were so loyal she could sell them a product. If that's true, very, very crazy, right? Does kind of make sense, but also very crazy. Let's not forget, in the mix of all this controversy, Tati had this whole thing with the owner of Too Faced, right? Jared, who bear in mind I've met, by the way. There's a photo of me and Jared. He invited me to their launch in London, and I've used pretty much exclusively Too Faced complexion products like foundation and stuff for years and years and years, since way before that as well. Really, really solid foundation. That's probably the only foundation I'm ever going to use up until I release my own foundation, to be honest with you. Tati had claimed that she'd met Jared maybe a year or two earlier, and it was like an influencer party or a dinner or something, and he met her again and he didn't recognise her, and she was really offended by this. And this is well documented. There was other people there at the party. I've actually spoken to multiple people involved at the party that were present and saw what happened, and they all say that, yeah, there was no controversy, there was no drama. Jared just didn't know who Tati was because he meets a lot of influencers. You know, they run a multi-billion-dollar company. They were being bought out by Estee Lauder only a few years after that. So Jared is really involved with a lot of different people on a lot of different continents, right? So it seems like he didn't recognise her. She was really offended by this, which kind of ties a little bit into that narcissistic personality that we have seen come through. I'm sorry to say, I don't mean to be offensive, but it kind of reads that way. And she did this whole smear campaign against him, as Jeffrey did as well. And I called out Jeffrey's smear campaign. I did a whole video on it. I think it got like over 300,000 views. And I'm pretty sure I spoke again about when Tati did this to Jared, and I actually looked at the evidence as well. What I find quite funny is that Tati had tweeted some mean things about me in the past. Just, you know, in my opinion, she said some quite mean things about me in the past, right? But Jared didn't remember who Tati was. And I'm pretty sure when she was first invited to the Too Faced event, it would have been PR that invited her, right? Like a social media scout. But Jared personally invited me to the Too Faced London launch. And I also got to stay in the hotel that the party was hosted at. I think I was actually the only person to stay in the hotel because I couldn't get home. But when I went to the event, he ran up to me and was like, hello, it's so good to see you. And I was like, it's nice to see you too. So it kind of makes me giggle. The little Miss Bossy Boots over here that talks down to me and is rude and is condescending and is mean. Jared doesn't know who she is. But then I go to the party and it's like, I'm just with my bestie right now. I did just think that was funny. Can I just say, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be controversial. Like, I haven't spoken to Jared. Like, I'm not close to the Too Faced family or anything like that. I'm not like this. I buy my own products. But I did just want to mention that. It was funny. Can I just say, by the way, I do miss getting invited to some of the cosmetics events. Like, I remember I went to the Makeup Revolution 4th birthday and I didn't really know anyone there, but I did have fun because I know the owner and they just had the Kat Von D scandal. So I was invited by him and we had a good chat. Oh, and then the Too Faced event. But since then, I kind of feel like all of these brands, they focus on, I don't know, it's kind of just the same boring people. Like, I think when you add me to a party, right, and I bring you with me because I take photos, I bring videos, I feel like you're adding a little bit of spice.
Let me add a little bit of spice to that.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like you have all these influencers walking around with their phones, with their cameras, recording themselves. Oh my God, I'm so important. Look at me. And I'm there, you know, hunting for a scandal, smelling out the room, seeing what's happening behind the scenes. You know, I feel like I bring the authentic angle to those sorts of parties. And I think I give it some soul. It's not just about, oh, look at me, I'm so pretty. I think it's more like, look at the owners, look at the way the room is laid out, look at the effort they put in, look how much they spent on this. Like, that's what I'm interested in. Okay, I'm sorry. Also, Swanson claims, I'm going to quote this for you again from the lawsuit. Swanson also claims that Westbrook's husband, James, who was involved in a lawsuit that he lost a few years ago with his own family members, which was brought to light by a beauty drama YouTuber called Without a Crystal Ball, who's now being sued for $5 million. I don't know how that's going to work because I don't think the lawsuit's worth $5 million and it seems a bit interesting that Tati's being sued for $5 million and then she tries to sue someone else for $5 million. I don't really get what's happening. But Swanson claims that Tati Westbrook's husband, James, also distributed hundreds of thousands of dollars in operating income from Halo Beauty in an attempt to devalue the company for the lawsuit. I don't know for definite, but I'm sure that's fraud. I'm sure to mislead, you know, a court of law in this way by doing these sorts of things, I'm sure that's fraud. I don't know how the legal system works in the US, but you have all these cool words in the US. You have like, what's the word, like perjury? Someone used that word recently. They said to me something like, oh, that's and I was like, what is perjury? There was another word that someone used. It was like sedition. Someone's like, he's going to be prosecuted for sedition. I was like, sedition? Like, if I can't say it in English, it's like in English, British English. It sounds more like sedition. Sedition. It sounds a bit MI5, doesn't it? But sedition. It sounds really cool. I like it. Could we just normalize that word? Now, I want to close off this video by reading a comment that I saw online that I think it sort of sums up the situation quite well. And I'm going to go through this right now. So let's read this comment together. So the comment reads, it's crazy how Tati took years of consistent, well-respected, well-paying work and flushed it down the toilet over a teenage friend's 15-second vitamin promo. That's oversimplified, but I think it's safe to say now, Bye Sisters was the beginning of the end of Tati brackets. Meanwhile, James Charles is thriving. Controversial. It's funny how they all stand on each other and then it eventually falls down. If she kept her head in the game, maintained her image as the classy one, the trustworthy one, the nice but aspirational one, and skipped the pill in favour of makeup brand launch, I think she'd pretty much be untouchable today. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that, but there's no coming back from what she's done, I think. She wanted to become a mogul and a mother. Instead, her business ventures are in flames, her reputation is in tatters, and she has gone radio silent in Seattle, legally unable to even defend or explain herself, and probably not doing a great job health-wise. It's tragic when you think about it. And I do miss her content and the way things used to be. She made some big mistakes, of course. She was maybe even dishonest. Maybe even dishonest? Darling, I think you need the shade glasses. Excuse me. You know, I think we need to get that vision checked out. Maybe dishonest. She made some big mistakes, of course, and she was maybe even dishonest, brackets not disclosing major endorsement deals. Still, I hope she can find peace. Anyway, there is a lot more conversation to be had about the current lawsuit that Tati launched against a YouTuber Without a Crystal Ball, but that's a whole different video. If you want me to talk about that, please let me know. Also, I have started my Cookie Tech channel, Cookie Tech. You can find a link to it on my main channel and in the description box down below. So definitely be sure to have a peep at that. I do also have an ASMR channel. I saw a few people asking in one of my previous videos. I'm going to be starting to post on it really soon. I'm just still prepping myself. I'm like warming myself up. I do have the channel. You can join it and turn the notification bell on. So when I do post it, you can be one of the first ones to watch it and we can have a little party because I enjoy that. Other than that, closing thoughts. It doesn't really seem like anyone else dug Tati into this hole but herself. She made the conscious decision with a very popular channel that sort of dwindling a little bit in popularity and in engagement. she decided to team up with Jeffree in the hopes to ignite that. But she could have become a classic. She could have become a classic that maybe she only gets 500,000 views, 300,000 views on a video. Maybe she makes a bit less, but she can still sign huge beauty endorsement deals. She's such a well-known face and has so many subscribers. She will continue to grow and reach a new audience. But instead, she threw it away for controversy and getting in with the kids. And I think that shows an insecurity to do with age and demographic. And I think this shows that she wanted to find a younger audience and engaging with people like Jeffree that often I also think, you know, really tries to appeal to 14-year-old girls, mostly, let's be honest. And James as well. There's plenty of beauty YouTubers that have wide demographics, but she has specifically chosen to work with people that have very young demographics. Is it because it's easier to sell products to young people? Absolutely. Young people dominate the fast beauty market, which again, I think people sort of a bit older don't necessarily buy into as much because we prefer to buy quality at our age. But makes me sound old, but you know what I mean? Like when you're a teenager, you want to just buy the new things. But when you get towards the end of your teens, you start to want something that works, that you can rely on. You don't want to buy something and then hate it and then be annoyed, right? Whereas when you're younger, you just throw it to the side if you have the money to do that. So I do think that that's potentially one thing, that really big machine of fast beauty was being bought into. But she really sacrificed so much. She sacrificed her name and her reputation. I think she was up to sort of semi-controversial things back then, but no one really cared. She didn't have the attention. Whereas now, people will always be watching what she's doing. I think after what's happened in this scandal and after what's happened in the previous scandals, I really do think that I don't think she's going to be able to come back to YouTube really without a massive amount of controversy, and things I don't think will be back the way they were ever again. I think the whole Bi Sisters thing was very calculated, and my personal experience with Tati Westbrook has been incredibly negative. There's times where I've, in the past years ago, not now because now I'm sort of grown up, but back then I was really a child. I was fresh in the world and I was living by myself, and I really felt like she bullied me at times, and she really made me sad, you know, in the same way that, you know, Jeffree tried to shut down my channel, and I was so lucky to have so much support with that, with people teaming up and standing up for me. But Tati really put me down at some of my worst times, and I'll never forget that. I think it really takes a type of person to see someone that hasn't done anything to you in a bad position and just using it as an opportunity to drag them for fun, right? And that moment always stays with me. And whenever I see Tati and I see these scandals and I see everything she's done since, that behaviour stays with me. The whole managing your public image, having every video that you make go through a PR agency so it's scripted. Again, that's something that was brought to me, but that's just alleged. But I was told years ago that pretty much every apology video that she makes is done by a PR agency. And I just don't find it to be authentic, and I don't think she's a kind person at heart. And I don't have space in my life for people that aren't kind at heart. I don't mind if someone's a bitch on the surface because people have issues, but when it comes to people's souls, that's where you need someone to be soft, squishy and honest. You don't have space for anything else other than that because it will poison your life, you know? Anyway, I want to say a huge thank you for watching. I hope you are having a blessed day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.